Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear brothers and sisters and viewers, welcome once again to Mic'd Up on Saturday night, 7 o'clock. We have a great episode, so thank you very much for joining us. I have with me the one and only Brother Mohsin Patel. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Mohsin Bhai, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, bro. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much for coming out. It's been a long morning and a long day for all of us.
Yeah.
But we're not going to share why today, but thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining us today. And I want to thank all the viewers for joining in. Been getting a lot of calls, a lot of messages in regards to this particular topic, which we're going to get into in a few minutes, and we're going to introduce our guests for today. But before we go there, just want to get through the formalities like we always do. So on Mic'd Up 416 on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, share the link with your families and friends, and please make sure that you continue to follow us also on Instagram as well. We're getting a lot of buzz on Instagram, a lot of messages, and I want to thank all of you, specifically the ones that live in the GTA, that have been giving us their feedback and such, and all over. We got people from America, UK, Germany, Australia. Alhamdulillah, thank you very much for your love. Allah bless all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for giving us the support. And thank you for your ideas. So if you have ideas, questions, etc., reach out. We are live from our Masjid, Makkah Islamic Center, 3234 Eglinton Avenue East. If you go down to the link, below the link is a way to see our work. So you can see that there. And our guest that's here today to talk about mental health, all of her information is also on the link. And the next month, next 4 episodes are sponsored by Amal Artistry.
Yeah.
Sister Amal, which you're seeing on your screen now. She can be reached at www.amalartistry.com. You can email her at info.amalartistry@gmail.com. Follow her on Twitter and Instagram at Amal Artistry. So we want to thank Sister Amal for sponsoring the month of February. And like what you see, like you do every Saturday at 7 p.m., the artwork that she's done at the mosque here, and it's all on her Instagram and stuff, so you can check it out, the work that she does. Phenomenal sister. Allah bless her and her work. That is pretty much the formalities. I do want to mention also, we're live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Pocket Cast, etc. So if the brothers and sisters who are missing the episode for some reason, they can go back and listen to it live as well. Good?
Yes, 100%. That's a lot of information, Brother Umar Qadri, you're giving. I think the viewers will be by hearting that as well.
MashaAllah. So without further ado, we have our sister Kulsum Khan RSW, who is backstage, and we want to put her on the screen. And first and foremost, want to say assalamu alaikum to her and thank her for coming on our podcast. So welcome.
Walaikum assalam. I'm very privileged to be here.
Thank you once again. I've been following your work, and I think it's phenomenal what you're doing. Not only, and I got this little feedback too, but like, not only for the Muslims, you don't even look at that, and that is what we call khidmat-e-khalq, caring about people, and it's about people. And the work that you're doing is phenomenal. The quotes, the TikTok. All of those inspirational yeah, I did check you out on TikTok. But it's very inspiring. And I know some people, because of this flyer, started to follow you, and the feedback that we got was that, wow, she really cares, you can tell. And it speaks wonders for the work. So from our team, I want to thank you for joining and continue the great work. And what we can do for you, we're here for you. And our du'as are with you as well. So Allah bless you and your family, inshallah.
Amen.
Wow.
So I
means
guess
a lot.
No, absolutely. What I do want to start with, we're going to jump right into it. I know your time is very precious, and we want to get the information out to the public as much as possible, especially dealing with mental health. And when we think about mental health, let's just go back 10 years. Nobody knew the name mental health. It existed. We just didn't put awareness to it. And there's people like yourselves, inspirational speakers, inspirational individuals who are pushing this forward to bring change to people's lives and communities and families, etc. I just want to start with saying, let's talk about you, who you are, what you're about, your qualifications, what you do, and then go into mental health. And then I'll just be quiet and listen, and then we'll just jump in with the questions once you're done your spiel there. I think that's fair.
Okay, sounds good. So my name is Kulsum Khan. I identify Canadian first, Muslim, Pakistani. My parents are from Pakistan, and actually have an interracial marriage. So I'm married to a Guyanese man who's also Muslim, alhamdulillah. So that's a little bit about my personal life. I'm also a psychotherapist and social worker, and I have a master's degree in social work and undergrad in social work as well. And I currently work full-time counseling at a community health center for free, actually.
Wow.
And so it's for clients who cannot go and use their extended health benefits. So they just come to the center, they let us know that they're low income, and we bill everything through a funding program called the PAC program. And they can just come and receive free counseling. And now we provide virtual care as well. It's open for everyone. Actually, now in Ontario. So first we had a catchment area, and now everyone across Ontario can access our program.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. And now I started a private practice on the side. I decided to take that on now that we're home more, I guess. And I think people need it more as well. Finding that people are really struggling during this time. So I decided to start my own private practice on the side, where I work on the weekends and on Wednesdays.
Wow, that's amazing. Can I ask, in terms of this free work that you do, was that your idea, or is that where you were working from to make this free for the public?
So it was actually part of a funding program that Ontario came up with, and our community health center kind of jumped on it, and then I got recruited. So it was actually them. I just kind of found that it was a good fit for me, and accepted the opportunity.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So let's talk about mental health. When I think mental health, the stereotype is, oh, it's all in your head. And, stress, there's ways of dealing with stress. You go to a Maulana, for example, you go to the mosque, they're going to tell you to pray Salah, read the Quran, and do all these things, which is obviously hikmah that is proven, that it works. And those are some things to deal with mental stress. But what of those individuals who are not close to the deen? And that's where you come in. Mental health, what is it? And if we can just paint a picture for the public about mental health from your aspect and from your point of view.
So when you talk about that, like what you just said was, an individual is struggling with their mental well-being, and they are spiritual, and they have a religious background, a very strong religious belief, and they go to a spiritual leader for support. That is for spiritual support, right? That's not really for mental health support.
Right.
If someone has a broken arm and spiritual leader, I think you have a broken arm. You need to go to the doctor first, and then after that, we can maybe together, and I can see how I can help you. Right. But I have my limitations here too.
Right.
And so recognizing that there are mental health struggles and challenges that spiritual leaders can provide support, but may not be able to provide those coping mechanisms they need to cope through those issues.
Right. So mental health, like when I think of mental health, or when people talk to me about your mental health or your state, your mindset, etc., I think about anxiety, depression. What leads people to the point where they go to the extreme? So I know people that are because of, for example, let's say they're in a bad marriage and it's not working out, and they're getting to the point where they start hurting themselves and harming themselves, to the point where they're going to go. What leads people to that point?
I think it's in that moment they feel so stuck, right? They feel so alone in that moment that I can't talk to anyone without a bias, someone that will really understand me. And there are multiple layers that are going on in here when people self-harm. When we talk about self-harm, we call that self-harm, right?
Yeah.
And so when they reach that point, there are other factors that have contributed. It's not just one factor that has caused them to find this as their coping mechanism, coping support. I don't think anyone wakes up in the morning and says, I just want to self-harm, right? That's something I enjoy doing. It's some struggling with, and that is what they find as their coping mechanism. And so I just really wanted to differentiate what is stress. So stress is when a significant amount of pressure is placed on your mind and your body, and when external stressors, a lot of external stressors, and there's some pressure. And then when we talk about anxiety is when individuals have a feeling of worry or fear that something bad is going to happen.
Right.
And it could also be some uncomfortable feeling, and can be experienced by anyone.
Right.
And so there are healthy stressors and healthy anxieties, but it's only when they start happening very often, they're impeding in your work. You really don't know why you're feeling that way. It's not related to a significant stressor in your life, whether it's buying a new car or entering a marriage, or it's coming out of different reasons that we can't really pinpoint.
Right. So let's talk about dealing with the stress. So the everyday stress, whether it's work stress, marriage stress, kids, maybe their kids are, because it affects everything. Stress affects your mood. It affects your friends. It affects your family. Mm-hmm. So dealing with stress, in your opinion, what is the best way of dealing with these stresses, day-to-day stresses?
Mm-hmm. So dealing with day-to-day stresses, I think in North American society, we have a lot of expectations that we need to meet. We constantly are run all the time. We want the next best thing. We want to do the next best thing. We're so busy comparing ourselves to other people. We have a ton of unrealistic expectations of ourselves. And so people are just go, and there isn't a lot of time to just sit back and say, okay, what am I really worried about? What am I really stressed about? What's causing me to feel this way?
Right.
And taking that moment to really think about, okay, where's my stress coming from? And even just slowing down a little bit and finding maybe a couple of moments in your day to do something you enjoy or to relax. Right. Just taking that pause.
Right. So I know me and our sister here has been talking for about 15 minutes, and it's not like Mohsen to be so quiet, right? So I know he's itching to say something, and I know he had a lot of things to say as well, because he's looking at it from a different aspect. Before the program, he's dealing with a different type of group in a community that goes to him for advice, etc. So I'm going to turn it over to Mohsen Bhai. I think he had some questions for you, so I'll turn it over to you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So no, it was not that about Umar Bhai. It's information about the mental health. This was the topic that was much needed, and Alhamdulillah, we're doing a podcast. This is our 9th podcast, Sister Kulsum, and what we do, we talk between us and we share the information best of our ability. But this topic, it's about mental health. So we, a management team, decided that we should bring somebody who can give a better advice, and they can talk about this depression, stress, and anxiety, right? So alhamdulillah, there's a lots of question what was people asked to me, and it was covered when Brother Umar was talking to you about the marriages, right? That one of the question that came when I broadcast my list, that if you have any questions. So without further ado, I won't talk much because we have only 1 hour podcast. So in our community, as you know, lots of people are struggling with depressions, anxiety, and stress. It doesn't matter the age, old and young. And in our community, that's the problem. The most common problem is going on right now. So one of our brother, one of our good brother, Irfan Nakuda, is from Islamic Relief, and as soon as I sent out the flyer, he was so excited. He was so happy. He was like, "This mental health was a very much needed podcast that you guys are doing today." And he personally, lots of people were asking to him a question, but he wants you to answer, because I think your answer will be much better if we answer or him answer. So the first question, what Brother Irfan told me to ask you, that someone asked to him that I'm losing my mind sitting at home, like what should I do?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody sitting at home, not doing anything, and it just feeling depressed or stressed or anxiety, just sitting at home, like what he should do.
And so in that, and there's so much right within that person's life that could be going on that they're person. So when they're talking about losing their mind, what do they mean by that?
Losing their mind.
It has to be very.
I think it's more to dealing with like what's happening with COVID-19, and you feel like a jailbird, and you're just stuck, and there's no you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
Because we keep going into lockdown, and now we have to wait for Doug Ford on Monday, and then we got to wait, and it's been over a year now, almost over a year. So that piece, and I think that's where Brother Mohsen was taking the conversation.
Okay, thank you for defining that. So if they're feeling very isolated, alone, right? They can't socialize, they can't go anywhere, they can't find a light at the end of the tunnel. I promise you, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? It may feel like there is no light at the end of the tunnel, but COVID could not last forever. And so, as much as it is challenging to be at home, recognizing, okay, I don't have a lot to have control over the situation. There really isn't much I can do, but what I can do is keep myself safe, right? Practice all the safety measures that have been put in place, hand washing and hand hygiene and stuff. But also not only like those type of specific things, but what do I have control over in my life while I am home? Is there something that I've always wanted to do and haven't had a chance to do? Is there something that I found joy in or makes me happy that I can contribute, whether it's volunteering online or if it's building something? So anything that brings joy, recognizing that this is not going to last forever, even though it may feel that way.
I guess it comes down to, you got to be in control of your mind, and you got to tell yourself those things, right? So I think that's a very good point that our sister brought up.
Yeah.
In the fact that you got to, in order to be positive, you got to keep yourself positive. And I think that's what lacks sometimes, because all around us is always negativity, right? Coronavirus. You don't go outside, you're going to get the virus. Don't talk to your brother and sisters, you're going to get the virus. Like, you know what I mean? They're scaring people, where we forgot how to live without certain things, without going to the mall, without going shopping and all of these things, right? Or going for walks even. Like, why can't we just go for a walk, right? So I think that's a very good point that you brought up. One of the questions that just came up, I had my own questions from earlier, but one of the questions that just came up was, what are effective stress and depression coping mechanisms?
So with effective stress and coping mechanisms, I would say is to take a little bit of a break during the day and just take like 30 minutes and sit with yourself. Ask yourself, okay, what can I do in these 30 minutes that is just for myself? Right. What can I do that allows me to feel relaxed? I'm putting my phone away. I'm putting all these stresses away. What is it? And I know hard to do with a lot of people are living with their family members. So either it's going out for a walk, like you said earlier, right? Yep. So going out for a walk by themselves, taking those 30 minutes to just breathe and not look at their phone and focusing on where they are at right now, rather than worrying about what's the next thing that they need to do, what they're going to do at work the next day. Right. Really focusing in that moment of, okay, I'm here right now and I am really stressed, but right now I don't need to be stressed about anything because I'm taking this moment for myself to walk or to do something I enjoy. Right. And then in terms of someone who's struggling with depression or anxiety, reaching out for support. There are a lot of, we live, and I'm assuming a lot of people live in Ontario, but there are a lot of supports out there. Right. And if you have extended health benefits, you could definitely look out for paid support, but there's also a lot of free supports. Like I believe Mind Beacon has a lot of free online counseling. Yeah. There's also the Distress Center. There's a lot of supports out there that are free.
Right. And I think often, and we see this in our community, I'm not labeling our community when we talk about people from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, etc. But what we find is we have too much pride, and we kind of hesitate because that's what we're instilled. And it's okay, right? And if it was to ask you a question, like, is it okay to do so? and putting your beliefs or your cultural background aside to go get help. If you can touch on that piece. Like, what's going to take that one person to go out there and make that step to go get help? Sorry to cut you off.
No worries. So I think it's recognizing that struggling with mental health is not because of a lack of iman. It's not a lack of spirituality. A lot of times people believe, because of the stigma that exists around mental health, is that you're not mingling with your culture, you're not around your family, you're not doing your religious duties in some way, or connecting with your spiritual leaders. It's knowing that mental health stigma can really affect the way we think. So it is okay to reach out to other supports if you need it.
Right. And I
think what is the worst that's going to happen? Really, when you reach out, it's confidential. It's with you and your provider. It's not going to go anywhere else.
No, I think that's the most important thing. It is confidential. It's not like everyone's going to tell people about it. And I think that's what they're scared of. Like, if I go out, what are people going to say? What are people going to think? I'm going to turn the podcast into a different direction. And I think what's plaguing our community is two things, and I'm going to touch on one, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mohsen Bhai, because he has some questions in regards to this topic as well, is the struggle of marriage. And when we talk about marriage, so it could be the sisters looking for a potential husband. It could be a husband, a guy looking for a potential wife, or it could be already married couples dealing with the stresses of in-laws. So if we can touch on that, and then I know Brother Mohsen has some questions in regards to that. So,
okay. So talking about couples, so I want to tackle the couple part first.
No problem.
There is so much stigma and stereotype with reaching out to third parties in a marriage, and a lot of times with third parties, let's get the sheikh involved. Let's get my mother-in-law involved. Let's get my dad involved. And so just even going to a marriage counselor for marriage counseling, let's have a conversation with a third party who is not biased. There's so much stigma around marriage counseling. Oh, my marriage is probably doomed for failure if I'm going to marriage counseling. There's so much stereotype with couples counseling. Right. And so I believe there is a sunnah as well, where I think one of the scholars was having an argument with their partner, and they seeked out an unbiased advice from someone. So it is okay to reach out for supports when you're finding it is difficult to get along, or there are misunderstandings that need to be overcome.
Before I turn it over to Mohsen, I'm very proud that you mentioned the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha to Sayyidina Siddiq Akbar, Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu an, to be that biased, to make that decision for them. And I think you touched on that. I think that was well said. So to seek help and to seek a second opinion, it is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So go ahead, Mohsen Bhai.
No, mashallah, it's very good that the topic that is going on right now regarding the marriage. And one of my friend asked me that if you can ask this question so I can listen. He's listening maybe on live right now, and he will be 100% be listening because I shared the link to him. So what's happening is that he got engaged marriage, right? Got engaged marriage, came to Canada, and sponsored their parents and her mother and father and her wife, mother and father, like father-in-law, mother-in-law. They both are here, right? But because of the parents, wife is not getting along, and it's affecting to their marriage, and they're going through a very hard time right now. And because of that situation, the guy, he can't focus on work. He always think about the home situation. He already is on stress level. He already phones us what to do, how to handle the situation. We try our best to give the best answer, what to do, how to handle that situation. But if you can advise him better way, how he can take this problem.
Okay. So I just want to start off by saying, I know that you wanted me to talk about marriage. So marriage is half your deen. Marriage is not half your family's deen.
Wow.
Right?
MashaAllah. Beautiful.
So when you're in a marriage, you made a promise to that person,
wow,
right? To give it your all, to give it your best. You didn't promise to give their family your all. And they didn't promise to give your family them all, right? So you have to put that effort, that half your deen. It's not a joke. It's something really, really serious, right? And I think just talking about, even I'm married, I'm talking about from my own experience as well, and I'm not just going to generalize, that we just oftentimes take our partners for granted. And so I think even just coming together and saying, okay, this is about our marriage. Let's talk about what are some of the underlying issues in our marriage. And because our emotions are so heightened, in that conflict, we're not always able to see that clearly. So just reaching out to that support, that therapist, with just 1 hour of just reaching out and saying, okay, let's see if this person can help us. Let's just have a little bit of hope and see if we can put our issues on the table and have an unbiased person look at them and kind of tell us, okay, number one, this is something we can start tackling and working on. Number two, this is what we can come to. And then number three, okay, this is how we're going to move forward. So that really is how therapy is usually provided to clients, right? Where we come together with the clients and we meet them at a place where they're willing to change and work on their relationship with themselves or with others.
I think that's such a great I was going to do a nada, I'm going to be honest with you. That was such a beautiful
answer, yeah, 100%.
Especially the beginning. Half of your deen, not
yes.
your in-laws. We did a podcast on family drama,
yeah.
Which was around the same thing. But what happens is, now you have parents, you go into a relationship. It's hard. It's hard to say to mom and dad, listen, back up. Like back off, leave my wife alone. Because your wife now is going to say, yo, why aren't you sticking up for me? Right? Why aren't you sticking up for me? And your parents are going to be like, you're my son, I gave birth to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in that sense, what would you say?
And so in that sense, I would say, okay, in that moment, you are only accountable for your actions. You're not accountable for everyone else's actions around you. So in that moment, recognizing that you and your partner are a unit now, and these people, yes, you love them, you care about them, you have obligations towards them, but now you're operating as a unit together. It's not your family versus that person, right? Like your family and you versus that person. It's actually your family versus you two together. You're inseparable now. Wow. So you got to figure that out. You're like this, so you got to figure this out. You're not figuring this person out. You're figuring this two out together.
Beautiful.
Very good answer. Yeah. MashaAllah.
MashaAllah. You have something else, Mohsen?
No, there are too many questions. Like the podcast will never stop. But this was a question regarding the marriage. But your answer covers most of the questions regarding the marriage. But let's move on to the student sections, because there are a few students also. They ask me about the mental stress. They are depressed when they come here, right? Why they get depressed? Because their parents send them here. They have to come here. They have to leave their family back home. They come here. The fees are high in Canada. It's not like us. We go to a university or college. Our fees are lower than them, right? They pay double amount of the money every 6 months. So they can't find a job or nothing like that. And then the jobs also, they can work 20 hours. Sometimes they can't work 20 hours. So what they think that, oh, you know what, after first semester, they think, I want to just go back home. I can't deal this is too much of fees for me. My parents can't afford. I can't get my parents to take a loan for me all the time, and they borrow the money from back home from friends and banks and all, right? And he can see, so he's like, they're depressed, and they make a decision that I'm going back home. So what are the steps regarding this situation you think that they should think about it, like what they should do?
It is really hard. I think it's definitely really, really hard for people who come from different countries and have, I think, often unrealistic expectations once they get there. And then also our families, as we know, even our families oftentimes have unrealistic expectations of ourselves And sometimes most often I would say we internalize that, right? And say, okay, our family's expectations are our expectations. So even recognizing, okay, I thought things were going to be a certain way when I came to this country, and things are not a certain way, right? Accepting that. And that's hard terms of acceptance. But recognizing that I only have two choices here. I can either go back, or I can come here and work through it, where there is a lot of student support for international students. Actually, there's so much advocacy happening if they're part of a university for international students. I know I was part of a lot of initiatives when I was at Ryerson in my undergrad. So there are a lot of resources, and just utilizing that is really helpful. But recognizing change is really, really hard. Even as a human in general, change is really, really hard. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. But now that you're here, as challenging as it is, there's also an opportunity. There's an opportunity to connect with people around you and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. I could do maybe not the best work, but I need to do something to provide for myself while I'm here because I'm paying very high fees. Or connect me to a program, going to their school and saying, hey, connect me to a program that can help me get through this. And it is a very, very challenging layer of inequities, I think, coming here as well. There's discrimination just because of the language barrier, discrimination based on their legal status. So recognizing that it is a very challenging experience to be an international student. But there are a lot of international students who have overcome these challenges and have coped with them. And I think it's definitely a great program if we can match international students with people who have gone through it all. But definitely reaching out to their own colleges and university and saying, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you please provide some form of support?
Oh, that's good. So there are the sources that they can reach out to their university and 100%. So it's good. And students are when they come with the high-end family, sometimes they feel shy too, to work as a janitor or work as a restaurant. So like they should not be shy. If they wanted to educate themselves and see something like on a bigger level, they should just start with the scratch and work whatever they can get, and they can go from there. That's good.
I think
it's hard to recognize that too, right? Those cultural differences where being a janitor in Pakistan or India was like the worst thing you could ever do, right? Yeah. And so being a janitor here, I have clients that I see, they're like, yay, I get to work as a janitor. I'm making like $50 an hour, right? So I think it's just really about perspective as well. It's recognizing, just sitting back and saying, whoa, I didn't have these expectations for my world. I can either go back, or I can try navigating this whole world, and I don't have to do it by myself. I have supports here that can help me navigate through.
I think the biggest thing is taking that first step. Can we talk about that first step? Like, if you can relate it to people that you have obviously worked with, or things that you've seen, that first step. How do I make that first step to admit that I need help?
It's making that first call. It's either talking to your general practitioner or your doctor, right? It's hard making that first call. It is really challenging. But if you have a friend who's struggling, sit with them and say, hey, let me make that first call with you. Let me write that first email with you. Let me book your first appointment with you. I'll go with you if I have to. I'll set an alarm and I'll be there, right? If you're struggling with depression, I'm going to call you in the morning, and I'm there for you in the morning. I want to make sure you survive this night.
Wow, that's amazing.
Walking with them rather than saying, hey, the onus is on you. You do it. No, let's do it together.
Right. I think that's that we need to love more and hate less, or love more, ignore less. And I think we do that because people often deal with stress differently. And speaking about doctors, because you mentioned that, so we got a viewer who just messaged and says, my doctor sent me to a psychiatrist who asked me a few questions regarding my life and then prescribed me drugs, which makes me feel like a robot, emotionless. Sorry. I don't find this effective. What should I do?
Okay. So psychiatrists provide medication, right? They're doctors, right? And so if you're not finding your medication to be okay, have regular appointments with your doctor. Let them know there is tons of other psychiatrists out there, and you have appointments with other people, right? And medication is not the only option. So if we're talking about medication, I'm not going to say stop your medication or anything at all. I would say you pay taxes, you pay into this, right? So you have the right to a healthcare that serves you. So advocates for yourself, I think, and being aware I can go see another psychiatrist. I can ask for as many referrals as I want for psychiatrists. So there are also psychotherapists and social workers that are out there that you can see, or psychologists, depends on where you live, that are OHIP covered or that you can get referred to. So ask your doctor, is there a psychotherapist that you can refer me to? Is there a doctor you can refer me to?
Right. And I think that's great. And the same, another individual viewer messaged in regards to, I think I might be depressed, but what are the symptoms of depression? How do I know if I am considered depressed?
Okay, so if you are feeling depressed, go to your general practitioner, book your appointment. Right now, they're doing virtual appointments. Say, hey, I think I'm depressed. Conversation with them. They can sit with you. They can do a questionnaire. They can walk you through it and connect you to the right resource in that moment. The first step is reaching out to your doctor.
Right. And if you were to motivate someone, this individual who's watching you right now, watching because they're affected by stress, anxiety, and depression, can you talk directly to them and give them that little push to go to the doctor? I actually know
what's stopping you from going to the doctor, right? What's stopping you? Right. Is it stigma? Is it what other people are going to think? What's stopping you from taking that first step? And we're all here with you to take that first step and book that appointment.
Awesome. We'll see if he messages back. But no, definitely. So there's a lot of things that are plaguing our society, right? Whether it's the influence of social media, whether it's, trying to fit in, all of these things. But what is on the rise, and I think you'll attest to this as well, along with mental health and anxiety, stress, depression, and all of that, is the rise of drug abuse. I think people are using drugs to deal with all these stresses. You hear it all the time. Oh man, I want to mellow out, so I'm going to smoke a joint, and all of these things and such. And it's often, right? And now it's so into them that drug they've been doing for years and years, let's call it marijuana, it is now not doing anything for them. So what do they do now? Now they go to something greater. So now it's like crack cocaine or heroin or whatever else is out there now. If we can touch on that, like the rise of drug abuse and all of that.
I think drug abuse has been sensationalized a lot in media, but not only that, I think it's also because it's become an unhealthy coping mechanism, and particularly because of the stigma of reaching out for mental health supports. If you're a man, you're strong enough. You should just smoke a joint. You'll be fine, right? You hear this all the time. Just have a cigarette, man. It'll be okay. You'll get over it. Just puff, right? Or whatever it is. It's seen as manly, or you're some form of a stronger being if you use substances as a coping support rather than going to go see a therapist and talk about your feelings. That's not a manly thing to do, is that stigma, discrimination, stereotype that exists.
For sure.
But men are human too, right? And a lot of women find substances to be an unhealthy coping support as well because of that stigma and that stereotype.
Right.
On the same topic, one of a father, actually, it's from our community, and he's watching right now, and he's had the same topic right now, and he said, my son, he smoke weeds instead of going to work or something like that. He is like loaded all the time, and father went to Imam Sahab and community members, people talking to them, but he's saying that he don't understand what to do. When he smoked that, he feels better. So he's not stopping. So what should he do to get rid of that?
So what should the dad do, or the person who's using the substances?
If the dad or the son, both should get an answer, because dad will tell him, or if he's watching right now, he should get an answer directly too.
Okay. So I think as a parent, going to your child and saying, hey, what's going on? What's making you use this, right? What is going on in your life? Let's have a conversation rather than saying like, you don't do this, you don't do that, you're a failure, you've disappointed us all this time. Usually it's a judgment, right? It's always a judgment. We don't really listen to the concerns of that person. We're listening to tell them that they're wrong, usually as a parent, right? Listening to tell them that they're wrong, that they're suffering because they did X, Y, and Z to us and they deserve to suffer.
Yeah.
Right. Coming from the parenting, I would say a lot of South Asian parenting styles, right? We're kind of taking our anger out of that intergenerational trauma. Yeah. And so just stepping back and saying, hey, I find this as a problem. I really care about you. Let's figure this out.
I think a lot has to do with, and we talked about this on our podcast as well.
Yeah, we did.
We talked about not the drug abuse part, but parents have failed this new generation. I'm going to tell you why. Because they forgot how to be friends to their kids. They wanted this figure of like, the dad is supposed to be scary. The mom is going to love you no matter what happens. The dad is going to beat you down or yell at you and whatever. You're never going to be good enough. And they forgot how to be involved in their lives. Okay. And I think that, so if that individual is watching, it's not too late. And I think our sister can attest to that it's not too late to change. Be involved in your kids' lives. We say this all the time, even to the parents that drop off their kids for madrasa. And we say this all the time. It's just, don't scare them, right? Mm-hmm. Don't scare them and say, oh, don't, like, be there for them, right? Treat them like your friend. And then look how like Mohsin is great. He has 2 daughters, alhamdulillah. He is great with them. Like, they look up to him like he is Superman. And that's the difference from a young age. And I know both of his daughters from a young age. And he's that's what I mean. That's what's missing. And then when they turn 25 and they're out of control, they come to the mosque, for example, and they say, Maulana Saab, Imam Saab, please help us. It's too late at that point. Right? When there's none of that involved. But go ahead. Sorry, sister.
So what I usually say, if you're not dead, it's not too late, ever. If you're not dead, they're not dead. It's not too late, ever. Sure. And when it comes to friendships, I want to actually create a line, right? So when it comes to your children, I always say, actually, don't try to be friends with them because you're not their friend, right? And you are their parent. So you become friendly to them. There's a difference, right? I'm not your friend. I'm your parent. I'm still going to parent you. I'm going to tell you what's wrong is wrong, and I don't agree with certain behaviors. You live under my roof. It's not okay, right? You can't walk all over me. That's not okay. We can keep some boundaries. Yeah. I'm going to be friendly towards you, right? I'm here to listen to you. I'll roll around in the snow with you. I'll be there if you want to cry an hour about a boy who didn't text you back. That's okay. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to tell you you're a haram girl because you're doing that, right? I'm going to sit with you and I'm going to listen. And I'm going to be there and say, is this something you really want to do? Rather than saying, this is haram, this is okay. Like you're going to hell, right? Yeah. So you're sitting there and you're really listening non-judgmentally. And you're really being friendly and saying, I'm here for you. But I believe that this is something that we need to kind of work together, right? This is a challenge.
Yeah. And I agree. So I'm going to reverse it back. When I mean friend, I meant like being involved in their life. For sure. And like, know
that's
their interests.
Parenting.
Yeah. Oh,
yep,
okay.
Absolutely. Being an active parent, that's active parenting. And I think even going back to your point of our parents have failed us, I think our parents were so much into providing for their children and not being able to recognize their own intergenerational traumas when they came here as immigrants. And I'm assuming most of our parents did come here as immigrants, but they're struggling with their own challenges, their own anger, their resentment, their frustration, their poverty, their housing. That doesn't justify their behavior, but they really didn't get a chance to be an active parent. So I think the onus is really on us to say, hey, I want to go to parenting programs. I want to read parenting books with my wife, with my me. We do it together. A parent together.
No, I think that's excellent. Speaking about parents, so there's some people that, like Brother Mohsin was saying, that acknowledge the fact that my son or daughter or whatever has a issue or has a problem. But then there's some parents that say mental health. What is that? There's nothing. Namaz padho. right? You read namaz and and everything will go away, which is obviously we're Muslims, we read salah, etc. That is for sure. But meaning to the point is not saying that go read namaz or go read salah, meaning denouncing mental health. Right? They're saying, there's no such thing as mental health, and that stigma or that stereotype of mental health doesn't exist in some Desi parents. If we can touch on that, please.
So if you are struggling, if someone listening here is struggling with a mental illness and struggling with explaining it to their family members, I would say bring that family member into your therapy session, or bring them into your general practitioner's office and allow that professional to sit together and explain what mental illness is. Because in that moment, when they're your parents, they may not be taking it seriously. They would probably think a lot of stigma and stereotype may be coming up for them. And so when they hear it from a professional, they'll be like, okay, this is valid. And you know what? Maybe they won't. They'll just say, I'm not going to come. I don't care. Sometimes they will say that, right? There are parents who will say, you know what? It doesn't exist. And it's recognizing, as long as you believe it, it's important for you and you're working on getting better. Everyone else's validation doesn't matter. It's only your own validation that matters.
Right. What do you think, Kulsum bhai?
No, 100%. That's a valid point. Our sister Kulsum is right.
Yeah. And it's... you know what, and that leads to things that break up. That's what causes distance, right? Like if you're not involved in your kids' lives, and then they start to distance themselves, they start to stay in their room longer, they start to stay out longer, they start gaining, and then they start looking for a different medium, whether it be drugs or any of that type of stuff. But the other thing is fitting in. So then if they're not fitting in at home, they try to fit in outside. And now that can go two ways. You can try fitting in a good way, or you can try fitting in a bad way. And oftentimes what we see, especially in our community, the people that come to the mosque and the parents that we talk to, etc., they start to say that people are influenced by whether it's rap and hip hop artists or TikTok superstars. That's not a cheap shot to you because I know you're heavy on TikTok, but that's meaning the bad influences on TikTok and stuff. Yeah. And that's where sex, drugs, alcohol, and all of that kicks in, and then they try to fit in. So they think it's cool because I'm from the block, because I'm from Scarborough, or I'm from Toronto, or I'm from Malvern, or I'm from MNL, and I'm all these places. I got to be a certain way. I got to wear my pants a certain way. I got to wear a certain color, etc. And then those individuals who are suffering from this depression try to fit into that. And that's when things go wrong. If we can touch on that, fitting into society.
So I want to talk about, why do people feel that rap or hip hop is meaning making for them? And oftentimes a lot of rap and hip hop talks about anger. It talks about feelings, right? Maybe not in a very out there way, but it does talk about anger. It does talk about feeling. It talks about coping, not always a healthy kind of coping, but those things are talked about. And at home, we don't talk about those things. We don't talk about feelings. We don't talk about how anger can be coped with in a healthy way. We don't talk about other coping skills, right? We're not talking about that. And so in these channels, we are talking about it. They are talking about it. So if we're able to create a space at home where it is talked about and that is possible, then doing that. And if parents are not able to provide that, then sibling. If you're a sibling, whether older or small or younger, try to provide that for your sibling. A safe space where they can talk about these things. And then now when we talk about fitting in, asking an individual when they're struggling with fitting in, asking themselves why they want to fit in. What do they hope to gain from fitting in?
Right.
Do they want to be around these people that they're finding belonging in? From 10 years down the line, do you want to still be around these people with these values? Right. They may not be bad. They're not bad people. I don't think people in general are bad people, but are these the kind of habits you want to have? Are these the kind of coping supports you want to have in your life?
And I think they live in the moment. So, like Drake, or for example, he said YOLO, you only live once. But what he's meaning is live life to the fullest on a different aspect, not like, go get a job, go get educated, go do this, meaning go to the streets, do all those things. But people don't understand the symbolic meaning behind these things. And then they think like this is the life. Selling dope is the life. You know, hating cops is the life. Like we grew up hating cops. And if you were to ask me today, why do you hate cops? You don't have an answer. Right? And it's so ignorant because you grew up. Hey, you're supposed to hate cops. Why? What are they doing? You pay your parents pay their salary. Like these things happen in society, and then that's what I mean. You try to fit in. You try to be somebody that you're not because of where you grew up. I know people that grew up in the hood, for example, like grew up in Scarborough, Jane and Finch, all of these areas, and they're successful, super successful. So that thing is like, oh, I'm from Scarborough. Okay, so is another 1.6 million people. What's your point? Right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. What I'm trying to say is fitting in, because social media helps you with that. And you look at these rappers and think like that. I saw a music video. You'll be shocked. Mohsen sent me a music video from people in and around this area. They got ski masks on. They're making like all of this. And I'm like, you rented a Lamborghini. It's not yours. You rented it. And you made a music video. Like, why? Why do all these things? For what? And all you're saying is you're throwing F-bombs and you're doing all of these things and stuff. So why does that individual think like this?
I can't answer the question of why they think like this.
No, meaning like why?
I don't know them. But what I can answer in that moment is asking yourself, if you're choosing to do something, right, that is not aligned with your values, asking yourself, is this aligned with my values, right? And I think that's having taqwa, right? God consciousness. That's really important, right? If you're listening to this show, you have some form of God consciousness, because this is a religious informed show, right? So you have some form of God consciousness, some form of taqwa, right? So in that moment, even if you feel guilty 1%, listening to that voice and say, where is that guilt coming from? I can silence that guilt right now, but I cannot silence it every night.
Right.
And so reevaluating and just coming back and saying, okay, is this right for me? Really, is this right and true to my values?
Right.
And are these people that are around me, if I died tomorrow, would it make a difference to them really?
Wow.
Right. And at the end of the day, right. And as well, if I die tomorrow, what am I taking in my grave with me? Am I taking a Lamborghini with me? Not really.
Yeah.
Right. I'm thinking my values and what I did for others and did for myself.
Absolutely.
They're putting themselves in danger, not for themselves because they're hiding their mask, right? But they're putting the community in danger, because what they're doing, they showcase the streets, the area where they live around with. So that video goes viral to the police and stuff. They watch, right? And the people, the community members, they're scared, right? They can't focus, like to go out. They're scared, and lots of police out there. So they should not do this, and they just, they should.
You know what? At the end of the day, this is what I said. We did a seminar in University of Toronto, Scarborough campus, about drugs and alcohol and influence and all of that stuff. I just simply say this. You want to be a gangster? Name me one gangster that has survived. Right?
That's a good one. Yeah.
Scarface, he got shot down, even though that's a movie. But you look at Frank Gotti's and the Gotti family, look at all of them. They're in jail. They're in jail. They're living life in prison. Either they're dead on the streets. Frank Lucas died. Like, all these people, like whoever it is, like that Colombian warlord or whatever, it doesn't matter who you are. You're not going to survive, because the man upstairs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is obviously sent you here to do the right thing. But in that sense, sister, I have a comment. I have a comment from a viewer and a question along with it. Thank you. For your amazing words and advice. You are an inspiration. I would like to go into the same field you are in. As a professional, how much? No, I'm not making this stuff up. As a professional, how much of your job do you take home with you, and does it affect or take a toll on your mental health dealing with clients/patients all day?
Okay. So it does take a big toll on my mental health and my well-being. But I think as you go into this field, you learn that actually you need to have a therapist for yourself, right? We cannot provide care for others and not care for ourselves. And if we believe that therapy helps, then it will help us too. So I do have a therapist for myself. So total self-disclosure. But not only that, I've learned certain things that are healthy for my mental health and are not healthy for my mental health. Right. And learning to listen to your mind and your body. If your mind and your body are telling you to just stop what you're doing and take a break, then listening to that and recognizing that having healthy and supportive people in your life is really, really important. So recognizing when we talk about who do you want in your life besides you, right? Like we just talked about that. Really saying, okay, if I was sick tomorrow, would this person bring soup to me? Would they take care of me? Do they love me unconditionally, or do they love me because I have this $10,000 gold chain on my neck? Or am I questioning if they even care about me? Right? So having supportive people around you is definitely important. Taking care of your own mental and your physical well-being is important, but also having, like I said, even a supportive partner who understands that this work is really, really hard and it's really challenging. So this person needs a break. They need to just calm down after work, maybe a little bit before they get into housework or whatever it is. So just taking those 5 to 10 minutes after work.
That's
really
awesome.
Helps.
That's awesome. And one of the things I want to touch on, two things. I know we're reaching the hour mark, but you know what? It doesn't even feel like an hour. I just looked up at the clock and I said, wow, we got 4 minutes. But I'm not going to let you go that easily, but I promise I will end it. Because I think this conversation, a lot of people are benefiting from it. And it feels good to, especially a sister of ours, talking about these things, and people are getting inspired, right? So they're messaging, they have questions. Obviously, it's a big issue. One of the big issues is, and you know what, I'm going to touch on something that happens even in our community, and even in the Islamic community. It happens everywhere, right? Ideally, but we hear about it. We hear it on the news. I heard about it today on the news as well. Is victims of rape. Now, and I think, you know what, for people in authority, whether that be a boss, a manager of yours, whether it's a leader in the religious aspect, or it's just the perverted pedophile that is lurking in behind a tree waiting to attack. And it happens because I heard about it today, that a 7-year-old girl saw a man chasing her and stuff. She ran into the house and called her elders. It's happening out there. So people, I want to talk about the part where victims of rape or I think it's molestation, if I'm saying the word right.
Sexual assault, sexual violence.
Yeah. So things like that. Often what we see is that people don't speak out. And then that person who did that to you is now doing it to 10 other people because no one is speaking out. Can we touch on that, please?
So I just want to say there's so much shame. There's so much stigma around let's just talk about sex in general, right? In the community. Yeah. And then when we bring that, on the layer of that, if we bring in sexual violence, whether harassment, when we bring that layer in, it's a very much victim blaming that happens, right? You must have done something. Yeah. I told you not to go to work there. I told you not to go to school. That's what happens to girls who go to universities. That's what happens to, there's so much victim blaming that happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's even talk about having those conversations and changing our language, the way we talk about women, the way we talk about, how someone has experienced something, right. and even our legal system, there's still so much investigation that goes into it, and it really takes a toll on a person. So there are layers of things that really stops a person from moving forward and making a report.
Right.
And even telling someone, taking that first step of saying, hey, this happened to me. A lot of women believe no one's going to believe me. There was no evidence. Right? That this person is my boss. I'm going to get fired from my job. There's so many different factors there. Yeah. So if you're finding that there's some unhealthy behavior happening around you, or if you find that someone is getting a little too friendly in a non-friendly way, is not being respecting boundaries, saying, hey, that's not okay. I saw you talking to my colleague like that. That was not okay. Talking to your colleague. If she's a female, you're a Muslim man in a workplace, you're finding something's not okay, saying, hey, are you okay? Right? Just even saying, hey, is everything okay with what happened? Do you want to talk about anything? Taking those 2 minutes, just being professional but kind, because we don't want to forget that we have to be kind and safe too. If you're finding someone is crying or something has happened in a bus stop, say, hey, are you okay? Can I call 911 for you? Can help you in some way? Just being kind and listening to that person and giving them that emergency number, whether it's 911 or calling support for them.
Yeah, because you know what? It happens a lot. And if we look in the Muslim community, what I can say as a representative of a mosque, and we do things a little different. And here at the Makkah Islamic Center, we're not the typical, speak in Urdu and just tell people about this is haram, this is halal, which is right in its own aspect, but we relate to the youth. And that's very important. And one of the biggest things that we do to relate to the youth is we have student associations in the major universities, and we're there. But speaking on that aspect, because we're talking about mental health, and because we are from a religious idara, I just lost the question. Sorry. What initiatives can the Muslim community, whether it's imams, whether it's masajids, Muslim centers, take to promote mental health, healthy well-being, or mental health and well-being?
I think definitely having a lot of brochures around information around mental health and mental well-being, having Nasiha come and speak, right? Nasiha does some great work with Muslim youth. Having Nisa helpline, which is a helpline for Muslim women, come and speak. Providing space for therapy, right? If someone needs therapy, or if they're even providing a space with a therapist in partnership with, I know some of the mosques have a partnership with, I think it's ICNA or ISNA, something like that, coming in and providing a therapist, a Muslim therapist, to come and do therapy, even partnerships with maybe Khalil Center, who are more spiritually focused, coming in and having a space there if someone wants therapy, providing a private and safe space, having lectures around or khutbahs around that, right, as well. Having people come in as guest speakers for sure, and just listening, right, and observing. At your mosque, observe. If you're finding someone that used to come from prayers is not coming for prayers, if you find that someone is crying a little bit longer in their dua, if you find that, just taking 2 minutes and observing, someone's not wearing the same clothes that they used to wear. They're not, their stomach is growling, right, while they're praying, or they're in the mosque. Talk to them, go up to them, right? Their eyes are black or blue. Right, sit next to them. Really, just ask what's happening. Hey, how about I make a call with you? How about I book an appointment for you to see someone?
I love that, and I think if I was going to use 2 words to describe that, is called active listening. And active listening is not just listening with your ears, body language and observing all of that. And I think that was fantastic. The last thing I want to touch on before I let you go is bullying. We often get a lot of that. Nowadays, it's a lot of cyberbullying because kids are out of school, but you get all of that, right? You get people that are pressured into, you got to join, this is our group, or this is our clique, or our gang, and this and that. And, or, you don't do that, you get initiation, or it's that nerdy kid. And I don't mean like I think kids are nerdy, but I'm just saying people have that stereotype and say, oh, that's a nerdy kid, I'm going to take his lunch money every single day. And then they get bullied, or they get called racial words and all of that. So for the viewers that have been bullied, or are looking at or some mechanism to kind of get through that and what to do, or have had people bully them, etc., or maybe bullies themselves, if you can give a message in regards to bullying, please.
Yeah. So first, for bullies themselves, if you find that you bullied someone, let me just go to that part. So if you find that you've bullied someone and you're really sitting back and you're like, damn, I was a mean person, right? When I was a kid, like that was awful that I did to that person. Apologize. It's never too late to say, hey, I'm so sorry I did that. Like I shouldn't have acted the way that I did, because you know what? Those childhood experiences, adults still remember. It clings on to them. They don't forget it. Yeah. And so you apologizing can make a huge difference. And if you want to be a better person, apologize, right? I would say start with that. But second, I would say bullying, whether in the workplace, at school, at home, anywhere, it's never okay. It's never going to be okay. So if you have children, speak to them about bullying, how bullying is not okay. getting their teacher involved. If they are being bullied at school, talking to the parents that are there. If the parents are not listening, talking to the board that's there. Board's not listening, moving your child from that school to another school, because bullying really takes a mental health effect on your child, and it's not a joke. It's not something that we should take lightly. So removing your child from that situation, if there isn't no possibility of change, is for sure an advised response.
Awesome, bye.
So that's all very good. That what a good answer regarding bullying. But sister, I got a last question. I think we are out of our time. But if you can just wrap up, or maybe Umar Bhai will tell you how to wrap up. But I'll just ask you the last question. That what are some tips to help me navigate and make most of my day? I feel there so much in my plate, and it often piled up in my head, and I become over anxious.
Okay. So that seems like this person is overwhelmed. So I would say make a list of things to do, right? That list is never going to stop. It will continue and continue and continue. What needs to stop is you, right? So think of realistic goals that you can meet that day that you need to do, or like 3 or 4 things that you can complete that day, and then remove one thing. So making it even smaller, and then creating a little bit of time for you to take care of yourself, doing something where just for yourself. Like I said earlier, that's so important. It's so basic, but we don't do it. And that really, really helps us in feeding our own energies, because we cannot help others if we do not help ourselves. So create a list of all the things that are in your mind that you need to do, and it'll continue adding, but set realistic 3 or 4 goals a day that you want to achieve, and spread it out in a calendar. Write it out, because writing is very therapeutic, and seeing it somewhere can be helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wow, like sister, the brother was listening to you live, and he already messaged that very informative answer. And I really appreciated that. I asked your question to the sister, and the answer is very informative to me. So he's thanking you. Like, I don't know if he's commenting on live, but he's messaged me privately. So that was very informative. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So every podcast we have done, we needed a part 2.
I know.
So I'm officially on air telling you that we got to do a part 2. Just to continue building the awareness. I think you've been fantastic. The crowd, I mean, we're not sitting in a stadium or any means, meaning the viewers, they absolutely love you. The way that you're even giving your answers, realistic and this and that. So we want to thank you. Allah give barakah in your work, and continue to keep you steadfast on what you do for the community. I'm going to ask you to give you your final remarks, that message to the viewers. And take as long as you want.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. So struggling with mental health is not easy, right? It's really challenging, and you can find yourself really isolated. A lot of times people struggling with mental health can say, no one can understand me. I tried everything. It's not working, right? You book an appointment with me. 15 minutes, it's free, right? Reach out to me. If I can't help you, if I don't think it's a good fit, I will refer you to someone else who I think is a good fit. But just reach out, right? What's the worst that's going to happen? It's free. It's 15 minutes. That's all it is, right? Wow. And so being in the Muslim community, there can be so much stigma and stereotype, but seeing your representation there, which is Muslim women, hopefully that is as helpful, saying, I'm here for you, right? You're not alone, right? There are people who want to talk about mental health here, right? On the podcast here as well, who you can reach out to if you don't feel comfortable, right? And so I think, right, just reaching out to coping supports, and there are a lot of free supports out there too, so you don't have to pay for it. So if you're a student, a lot of people don't know, if you are a student, you do have health benefits. So that covers psychotherapy. Most often it's 100%. If you that psychotherapy, which is 100%. And if you don't have any benefits, don't worry, you can still reach out, and there's a lot of OHIP covered benefits out there.
That's amazing. And if I can get you we put all your information in the link or on the video, underneath the video. But for people that are watching, if you can just kind of where they can reach you, if we have some TikTok followers. I know you're hype on TikTok and stuff like that. So if you can throw that. I think you're hyping me up way too much. I'm really struggling with listen, TikTok if you make it famous, just know that I mentioned it 4 times for you, right? So But if you can tell them where they can find you, even TikTok, so email, phone number, all of that jazz. If you can let the viewers know.
Sure. Absolutely. So you can reach out to me on Instagram at Kulsum Cares. My email address is kulsumcares@gmail.com. And I don't really have an official website, but you can find me on Psychology Today. And it's Kulsum Khan on Psychology Today.
Awesome. And TikTok? TikTok?
And TikTok, yeah. Out of that. I've tried my best to record that for sure.
Awesome. And sister from our team, once again, you've been a lovely guest. Again, it's an honor to have you, because I've seen your work and what you've been doing. I just hope it continues to be successful for you and your family. And definitely, I'm saying this right now. So part 2, I'm going to reach out shortly, and we can book that in. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. And it was an honor to have you on our show today.
My pleasure.
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. MashaAllah. So that was Kulsum Khan RSW. Great information, Mohsen bhai.
Bro, this information was much needed. The topic was very important. People asked about this topic. They are mentioning about to do this topic and mental health. We can answer all these questions. What our sister has given best answer to the viewers and the people who asked about the mental health, their problems. In short, I will say that Sister Kulsum is asking 15 minutes of their time. If they are in their difficulty times, if they're depressed, if they're stressed, if they're anxiety, don't give up. Go and talk to the people. There are the sources from this podcast. I think that's a very informative podcast. And as you said, part 2, 100% is coming.
No, and I think that's good. So closing remarks, final message from your part, and then I will wrap it up.
So the final remarks from my side was that if you're depressed or stressed or anxiety, there are too many ways that you can go and talk to. As sister was saying, give 50 minutes to her. All informations are there. She can do her best from her side. If she cannot do it, she can refer you to somebody else. And not only that, like if you have some family problems and if you're close to one of our management team, we are always here to support you.
Absolutely.
We are always here at Makkah Islamic Center, 3234 Eglinton Avenue East. Any problem, family problem, job problem, don't get stressed out, don't get depressed. Reach us out, call us, tell your problem, and 100% we will try to help you out as much we can. And if we can help you out, we will refer you. As Sister Kulsum was saying, if she can help out, she's going to refer. So we're going to go in the chain. But please, don't stressed out and don't think that as a student I was asked question that I'll go back home and I can't take this, I can't do this job, there are too much of fees. No, there are the sources that you can do jobs, we can get you it. So don't get depressed on that as well. And that's it. Like Brother Umar, you can talk more on that now. I think that's the most information.
I think that's well said. I'm not going to say too much. Just to wrap it up, I know we went over the hour mark. This is what I'll say, coming from a spiritual side, that we have to make an attempt to get closer to the deen.
100%.
It's very important to make that step to salah. The Prophet ﷺ said that salah wa qudratul ayn, ya wa salah wa nurul ayn, meaning that salah is the coolness of my eyes. 100%. It is the most beloved ibadah that Allah gave to the nation of the Prophet ﷺ. Zikr of Allah. Come to the masjid, involve yourself into the masjid. All of these things, spirituality, that getting that closeness to Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ وَاشْكُرُوا لِي وَلَا تَكْفُرُونَ. You remember me, I'll be remembering you, or I'll get you to be spoken about. Meaning that we have to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from our side. This is our message.
Yes,
come to the Makkah Islamic Center, like Mohsen is saying, sit with the ulama, sit with the huffaz, learn the Quran, read the Quran, speak the Quran at home, read your salah. It's very important. These things help with coping with stress and anxiety, and it builds the balance between deen and dunya, and it helps you understand your deen and what your deen teaches you. you're not alone. Like Mohsin Bhai said, you're not alone. We're here to help you. We have great contacts like Sister Kulsum, who is willing to help. Khidmat-e-khalq. She's actually doing the work for the people.
For free. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Allah bless them. Janab Mohsin Bhai, thank you very much once again. Back-to-back podcast for you.
I know.
You must be tired.
No, not tired like you, man. You're doing like 5-6 hour live. I'm just doing 1 hour.
But no, you've been always. Last week you were great. You were a hit last week too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
None of us are hit. She was the hit today.
Yeah, I know.
Right? But last week, you really good job. I just want to say that. So it's going well. You know, and I'm going to wrap it up. So YouTube, like and subscribe. Every episode we gain subscribers, but we're not gaining enough. So please, brothers and sisters, like and subscribe. Mic'd Up 416. It's on the flyer. It's on our messages. You're getting them. It's on our social media. Mic'd Up 416 on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Every Saturday, 7 p.m. Inshallah, we will be live with new programs and new topics and guests, etc. Trying new things. Alhamdulillah. So please do that. Follow us on Instagram. We've hit the over 4.5 thousand followers. Alhamdulillah. So it's getting out there. So let's get 4.5 thousand subscribers, please. Right? So please like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Keep us updated, and we'll keep you updated, inshallah. So our umbrella organization, Sufi Council of Toronto. Follow us on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and our Idara. As you guys all know, Makkah Islamic Center, like Mohsin Bhai said, 3234 Eglinton Avenue East in Scarborough. We've been closed for quite some time now, and we obviously need your help to support. So the link is in the bio of this video, meccacenter.ca. Please help and support the masjid while we're closed. We're doing a renovation. Our project is happening. We need to raise $15,000, and then we can finish the downstairs portion for our sisters in the prayer hall and the wudu area, etc. So please help and support meccacenter.ca. meccacenter.ca. Please help and support. And Sister Kulsum's information is also on there. So if you need help, you need support, you can always message us if you can't find it, but it's in the description of the video. And then mental health, we have a mental health awareness campaign that we are a part of as well. Reach out to Makkah Islamic Center on Instagram. Or you can call Mohsin Bhai directly. I'm not going to put the number out on air, but you check the flyer, you can get a hold of him very, very easily. But please, you're not alone. Help support the Makkah Islamic Center and the work that we're trying to do to bring awareness for all types of matters that we face in our daily lives. This episode and the next episodes for the month of February has been sponsored by Amal Artistry. So you're going to see that at the end of the video. Amal Artistry. So Sister Amal, thank you very much for supporting Mic'd Up and the Makkah Islamic Center. Allah bless you and continue to give barakah in your work, inshallah. So reach out to her if you need any of artwork, designs, paintings, etc. Reach out to her for any of that needs. And inshallah, we'll see you next Saturday live back here on Mic'd Up 416 on YouTube. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.